morning and welcome to the Senior Hour. I'm Dr. Gene Dorio with my co-host Barbara Cochran on your hometown station AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, bringing information to enhance one's quality of life. And we are sponsored by Advanced Audiology and Comfort Keepers in-home care. And speaking of Comfort Keepers, we have today Miles McNamara. Miles, welcome to the show. Happy New Year to you.
Thanks, Gene. Same to you. It's like old home week. Remember back in the day when I used to co-host this with you and Barbara?
Right, exactly. It was so much fun.
It was like our version.
Tri-hosted, I guess it was.
Yeah, it was our version of the Three Stooges.
But it worked out, I think. It was a lot of fun. And I still think, we get information out for our seniors to make sure that their quality of life is enhanced and that they're doing the right things to maintain themselves in this community. And that's not an easy task, is it?
No. And as participants in our seniors in their journey, I mean, oftentimes they're referred to as the invisible generation because you just don't see them unless there's a senior in your life. It's really, you don't really think about it. I mean, how often do you interact with seniors out and about, which is something we as care providers and health industry professionals, have to make sure that our seniors are maintaining that confidence and the socialization that gets them out in public and maintain their lifestyle and go to that bridge game and, blah, 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 that we'll talk about later because, that's one of the biggest things I wanted to talk about today too is, the whole isolation and depression in seniors.
Absolutely. And, our society should be intergenerational. We should all be blended together. It shouldn't be, that we're segregated by age groups. But, when you're in junior high school, middle school, you're with your group. When you make it to college, you're with your group. As you go into get your families and you're taking your kids to softball practice, you're in your group.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard to get outside of that group. And, seniors sometimes do, and they become that isolated. And, if they don't have family, it makes it even worse, doesn't it, Miles?
Well, it's kind of cool. I'm seeing a trend not only in schools and in churches and stuff where they're actually having programs that are interacting our seniors with children and, kids. And, and I think that's an ingredient that we've lost over the years is that old saying, that cliche, respect your elders, and I've always, believed in the old sayings that the best classroom in the world is at the side of a senior. Yeah. I mean, if we lose sight of the fact of the wisdom and what they've experienced through life to impart that on our younger generation, I don't want to get into a whole conversation about millennials and the whole different thought process out there, but it's just there's something missing, Gene, and and it's funny. I had because I have Aging with Power on KHTS here too as well. I had guests on a month or so ago, Debbie Wolpert from Vargo Physical Therapy, and I also had Steve Peralto from the Valencia United Methodist Church, and we had an awesome conversation about just that, the difference between millennials and their faith, if you will, and their view on the world and the existential stuff around us versus what he sees in his senior ministries as far as when things were just taken on faith and, and our seniors and that, they were called the great generation for a reason.
And this greatest generation is becoming isolated. And I think the technology has played a huge role in that because, so many of my seniors who are in their 80s and 90s, they don't have a cell phone. They don't have a smartphone. They don't have a pad. They don't have any of that. Some of them don't use computers. And certainly with time, everybody's going to be able to do that. But this generation is resistant to it.
Right.
And because of the technology, that leap that was taken in that technology was not a leap for our seniors. They're still being held back. And because they couldn't move forward for lack of having that technology in their back pocket, they're suffering for it right now.
Well, I don't have the stats with me, but I mean, there was a trend there that the largest new age group that were getting on the bandwagon of were seniors. I mean, there are a lot of seniors that are welcoming the technology and they're loving their smartphones and they're loving their computers.
In their 70s. When you go over to the senior center it's a different ball game because you're seeing the 80 and 90-year-olds, when something is going on, they're pulling out their smartphones and they're making video of it. It's great.
Yeah.
But when you go into the community and I doing house calls and you doing the same, you don't see it as much. And that's a hard part that we have to comprehend, because knowing and having that knowledge says, well, we got to pull them forward. Even though for those listeners who are caregivers for their parents, there are some times where, you have to help your parent. You have to bring them to the forefront. If they can't use the computer, you help them with that. You make sure that they know what there's potential for how they're going to deal with life through the computer. But if you don't do that for your loved ones, they're done.
Yeah. And on the other side of that coin, we also have to make them aware of the vulnerability that exists when you go on that thing we call the internet and start responding to emails and putting your personal information, because the scammers out there have become so good. I mean, I don't know about you, but I get them all the time where, the emblem and the logos are there, something from my bank that, your log on has been interrupted. Please hit this link. And so if you do all of that, they're asking for your personal information. And I swear you look at their logos in this email, and I don't know how long before we have till our first break, but there was just something for our seniors. And I actually called KHTS and I called SCVTV and I called the sheriff's. I walked into my office one day and one of my managers came out and said, Miles, I have an Edison worker on the phone. They're going to cut our power within 30 minutes for non-payment of your bill. And I went, that's interesting because I have it on automatic payment, blah, blah, blah. So I said, put him through. And his name was Jose. And he says, yeah, I'm down here. And I've got a work order to disconnect your power for non-payment. I'm like, well, that's interesting, Jose, because I'm on the website right now and I'm showing that my payment cleared and that I'm current. And, I said, he goes, oh, well, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. Here, call this number and clear it up. So I called it. I get the sound, the on-hold music from Edison. I get, thank you for calling Southern California Edison, blah, everything was as it should be. And this guy gets on the phone, same thing, oh, well, we're so sorry for the mishap here. What I would encourage Mr. McNamara is that you go ahead and let's pay this bill now, and then we'll credit it toward a future bill once we fix this. And I just started laughing, and I can't remember his name. We'll call him John. And I just started laughing. I said, John, do you really have people that fall for this? I said, this is scam 101. Are you kidding me? Well, no, what do you mean? I said, John, I'm on the website right now. I'm showing my why, and he wouldn't let it go. I said, I'm looking at your website right now. It's paid. It's current. Well, but let's, there just must be a glitch. I certainly don't. And he wouldn't go away. Let's make sure you don't have any power interruption. But he wanted my credit card number to take care of this bill that he promises would be credited to next month's bill should the, misunderstanding be cleared up. And I said, you know what, John, just so you know, I'll be calling the authorities after we hang up. And, he finally did hang up on me. And, but when I called the sheriff's department, they said that this has been happening. There's an active FBI investigation. So I just wanted to get the word out there to not only everybody, but especially to our seniors when they get this phone call that their power is going to be disconnected. Oh, I'm sorry, the problem is probably ours, but let's go ahead and pay in advance and we'll credit it next month. They give their personal information, they'll give our credit card number, and it's all over.
And these scams are out there, and I feel bad because we're warning them about a scam, and for some seniors, they're saying that's exactly why I'm not going to use the computer. But there are ways of getting around that. Yes, email can scare us, but there's information out there. We called it the information highway, and you can get on there and you can look at whether it be Google or whatever it is, and you can get questions. You can get things about your family. You can get things about something that just came on the air that you may have missed. There are things out there that I think our seniors need to know, but they don't have access to it. They're used to reading the newspaper. They're used to getting a hard copy. And sometimes listening to the news. And here we have music sometimes and no news. On the hour, we get the news.
Sometimes you can trust journalists just like you can trust the internet, right?
And that's part of the problem. So you want to get a lot of information under your belt, which I think our seniors have been used to. But now it's limited. And, I don't want them to be afraid that the use of the internet and being out there technologically, that they're going to be scammed from that. I think it's important that they understand the risks, but they understand also that, you can thwart those risks by being aware. And for the caregivers that are out there who are watching over their parents now, their accounts and everything else, you have to get in there and make sure the accounts are okay. You have to make sure that the statements are correct, the I's are dotted, all of that to assure that our seniors are not getting ripped off. They're an easy target nowadays.
Well,
and
like anything else, it's about the education process too. I mean, same thing with snail mail. I mean, think how many times our seniors are scanned by something they get in the mail. Now it's just through the internet or email, but it was the same thing. There were so many scams, and back in the day, they'd have gotten a notification by mail that there was a problem with their Edison bill. Please send in a payment now. Blah blah blah. So again, it's all about education. It's all about familiarity and making sure that they have access to educate themselves on the do's and the don'ts, just like anything else, I think.
And it's a communication that we need with our seniors. And one of those areas of communication that some of our seniors should take care of, some of them most do, but some of them don't, is the area of the advance directive, the documents that they need to be able to, if they go to the hospital, if they have a legal problem, if something comes up with a bill, then they have someone who can take care of that for them and are given the legal rights to be able to do that. As one gets older, there's always that risk. Hey, you're going to be in a hospital. You're going to be in a situation where you won't be able to make medical decisions, and you want to have in place the individuals who will be making those decisions for you. So how do we get our seniors to, we're talking about technology, but we're also talking about good communication with your loved ones to be able to make sure you're out there and, have the documents in front of you.
Right. And that's one thing that, as we talked about before the show, that, it's the new year, and it's Happy New Year, but now we need to kind of take stock on all those, kind of trite New Year's resolutions everybody makes. I want to eat better, lose weight, yada, yada, yada. But for our seniors, and I'd put a list together and actually talked about it on my show before the new year, is that, you really need to take a step back now and take stock in are your affairs and your ducks and things in a row. Because as you mentioned, first of all, they're not fun conversations. I mean, when, we call it the talk. And while everything is good, the adult children should sit down with their parents and reassure them that this talk is going to make sure that things happen the way that you want them to happen, because bottom line, we all know it to be true that there's none of us getting out of this alive. So at some point, we're going to need a little help. So with that said, let's talk about being proactive versus reactive. Let's not wait till you get scammed, and let's not wait till you fall and break a hip. Let's not wait until you're told that the doctors or the courts have to make your decisions rather than families and loved ones. So as you touched on, the first thing I stress is what happens if you're not able to talk on your own behalf. So the advanced healthcare directives are monumental. And what a lot of people don't understand is not just for your mom and dad, but for any child over the age of 18,
sure,
because now they're a legal adult, and you as a physician, I know that I'm preaching to the choir, but for our listeners is that, the looks on people's faces when their child goes into the hospital because of an accident or something, and they're told they can't talk and make decisions because there's no advanced healthcare directive for their adult child. So again, do this for your parents, but also if you have children over the age of 18,
absolutely,
have an advanced healthcare directive in place for them. Otherwise, the doctors can't listen to you. They have to either make their own decision or get the order from the courts. But you also, I would encourage for seniors and even the adult children is, it doesn't have to be a family member. Now if it's so strictly laid out that there are no gray areas and there's no decisions to be made and there's no guilt trips to be laid upon anybody because you're following a roadmap that was laid out by your parents or your senior loved one, that when X happens, I want Y to follow. When Z happens, I want it follow. So it can be a child or a family member, but I've seen a lot of seniors who will pick a family friend who, has no skin in the game. They're basically going to read this roadmap that the senior has laid out, that, all the way, through healthcare decisions, life preserving machines. Is it to get me over the hump, or am I going to be on it for the rest of my life? So there's things. I mean, I was the agent for my wife's grandmother's boyfriend. And, we'd put a healthcare directive, and he chose me as the agent. So I had no skin in the game. Frank was a good old guy, but, he told me what he wanted, and we had this talk. And lo and behold, he turned left into oncoming traffic and was in a serious car accident. Nice. And he was in ICU on a breathing apparatus and the whole 9 yards. And so when I walked in and I looked at Frank, and, he's on this, and he's in his eyes telling me to pull the plug. He's like, he just had this look on his face. And I talked to the doctor, and I said, let's step outside. And the doctor told me, he got banged up, but this is to help him breathe for the next week or so. But he should have another 5-10 years left after this. This is just to sustain him while he heals.
Good.
He was so pissed. I walked in and I said, Frank, you're going to be fine. And if looks could kill, and he was just, and I said, Frank, listen, I tried to explain. I talked to the doctor. So I explained it to him, but he wanted nothing of it. Well, long story short, once they took that breathing apparatus off and they put him into physical therapy, the old codger lived for another 5-6 years, and we used to talk about that. He thanked me for, because I paid attention to what he wrote in the Advanced Healthcare Directive. If it to get me over the hump, do it. If it's because I'm going to be on it for the rest of my life, please pull the plug. So you need somebody that can kind of step back, talk to the doctors, gather the facts, make the decision based on what they put on paper before the incident actually occurred.
You have to have an advocate.
Right.
And that's the important part. And that advocate needs to be somebody that that you've had discussion with, there's communication with, that it's all out there laid on the table at some point. But it has to be preventively. It has to be so that you can put the points out there, and that person, that advocate, knows exactly what your wants
there's no
and
gray
needs are
area.
going to be.
You're just following directions. And I'm sure you've seen as a physician 100 times with siblings in a room arguing about what the next step is, right?
Yeah. So we're going to take a break, Miles, but when we come back, let's talk a little bit about a few more of these documents that our seniors need to know. They're hard copy. They're not, you can get them on the internet, but this is something they can deal with in the here and now and not have to worry about the technology presenting it to us, okay? We're talking with Miles McNamara from Comfort Keepers in Home Care, and we're going to take a little break here on the Senior Hour. I'm Dr. Gene Dorio on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.